Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Politics Now, from Modern Politics in Modern America. And today, we're going to be discussing why 2024 is looking to shake up as a Trump resurgence, if you might say, and how Trump is dominating in a lot of the polls. And right now, he's looking like he has a pretty good shot at winning the election. So, yeah, let's get into that. So, Trump, right now, in pretty much all of the polling, he's doing pretty well. Biden and the Republican nomination, he's doing exceptionally well in pretty much all of those. General election, he's up, and I mean, for the general election, he was down in 2020 and 2016, but he won 2016 and barely lost 2020. So, I mean, if he's up in the polls, if he's actually above his opponent, well, what does that entail? Because if we even take it like traditional polling where we don't have the Trump style margin error where it's completely wrong, and often Trump doesn't even need to win in the polling to win the election. And if we take that out and play it straight, well, Trump still has a decent shot at winning the election, even with, all the indictments, all of the controversy, all of that stuff. It bounces off, and if anything, it helps him. And the Colorado thing where the Supreme Court is trying to take him off the ballot, that's just going to backfire and help him again. All of these indictments are just going to backfire and help him again. And all these attempts to try and paint him as some sort of like new neo Hitler dictator, even though he's already been president and he hasn't really changed since 2016, that's going to bounce off and again backfire. So they're trying a lot of things because Biden, he's extremely unpopular. Even people in his own party don't really like him. And swing voters and Republicans, they absolutely despise this guy. So, I mean, they're kind of stuck with him because who else do they have to run? Kamala Harris? No one likes her. I mean, Bernie Sanders? They're never going to run him. They absolutely despise that man. And plus, I mean, he's not really going to do much better than Biden. Even his own party won't elect him. And I mean, what else do you got? You got some one offs that will probably not really run. You have Dean Phillips, who, I mean, he's not really going to win the nomination at all because he's losing to Biden for the nomination. I mean, even relatively obscure candidates running against unpopular Democrat incumbents like Jimmy Carter, I mean, they still got close to beating him, but Dean Phillips, he's not even close to beating Biden. So, I mean, he's not really a likely choice. And even then, if Biden dropped out of the race, you could probably get a more well known Democrat who would probably do a lot worse. So, yeah, you're kind of stuck with Biden unless he dies. So, really, Democrats got a pretty bad hand for the 2024 presidency because all their bench warmers suck, and their current guy is very, very disliked. So, really, you're stuck with Biden unless he dies, which in that case, things would get a lot worse because you're either stuck with Kamala or you have to pick somebody else who is equally as bad. So, Trump, general election, he's doing pretty well. He has lots of momentum, he has lots of support, and he is doing record numbers compared to 2016 and 2020. They had vast margins of errors towards his favor, and if we have that again in 2024, then it might be an even uglier show than how the polls perceive it. And really, Biden is now out of the margin of error. He would have to have a Trump style margin of error go into his favor for him to even have a relatively decent chance of winning not only the election, but most of the swing states and the popular vote because Trump, he hasn't won the popular vote yet, and really, he's looking like he might actually win the popular vote at this rate because he has such a lead against Biden, and Biden, he doesn't really have a lot of turnout that he can pull on because a lot of the people who are going to vote for Biden, well, they're not turning out, and they probably won't turn out in 2024, which will hurt Biden even more in a lot of these swing states that he barely won in 2020. So he needs all the turnout and all the support that he can get, and Biden just doesn't turn that out. He, if anything, he retracts those voters. He completely distanced those voters from the people who initially supported him, but now they don't, and now they don't want to vote for him. So, Trump, he's doing pretty well in the general election. When we go on to the primary, it's just a laughing stock. I mean, 63% against his next opponent, DeSantis at 11% and Nikki Haley at 10. No one is going to touch this man. No one is beating this man in any state. Any any margin of error cannot solve this. Anything, just literally anything cannot defeat Trump in the primary. He has this in the bag and all of his opponents either A are just bad, who they're just not going to get elected at all, or B, have so little support that they can't possibly catch up to him. DeSantis, he had support, he had an opportunity, and he royally fucked it up. And now he has no support, he has no opportunity. And Nikki Haley, they're trying to push her. That's not going to work out well. If anything, she's going to be less successful than DeSantis outside of South Carolina, which even then, if you look at South Carolina polls, 20% is the best that she's getting because really that's all she's going to get out of South Carolina. And New Hampshire, that might be a place where she can do better. But again, Trump is pulling out almost 50% of the polls. And a lot of the more neocon, uh, 2000s style Republican candidates currently on the ballot, kind of like Nikki Haley, Chris Christie, Ron DeSantis, well, they're going to split that vote, and really, they're just going to give it to Trump at an even wider margin. And as people drop out of the race, well, Trump is going to get a lot more support. You saw this from Mike Pence, Tim Scott, a lot of these other people dropping out of the race before, the primaries started. They gave Trump a lot more share of the vote, and he went up in the polls by quite a bit. And these are people who've spoken publicly about how they don't like Trump anymore, yet still he got a majority share of these voters who second choice would probably not be Trump, but really all these other candidates kind of suck. So you might as well go with Trump. And really looking at everything here, Iowa, that's in a while, but really, Trump still has a 30-point lead there, and he's taken well over 60% of the vote there. And really, no one has any sort of competition and any sort of competitive edge on Trump in Iowa. This isn't like Ted Cruz, where he can pull out the stops and win Iowa by a very slim margin. No one is even close to that. No one is even close to 2016 and how Trump barely won in a lot of these states and how he actually had an opportunity to lose the nomination. This is in 2016 where the neocons have a lot more power and a lot more majority in the Republican Party. Trump is an incumbent president. He is very well liked within the party. And also, he should he's just relatively popular. He's relatively popular in terms of voters, the voter base of the Republican Party, and just voters at large. He's pretty well liked with the voters, so they're going to vote for him. And they are very dedicated voters. That is the thing about Trump voters. They are very dedicated to their guy. That's why they probably won't vote for Vivek because, I mean, why vote for discount Trump when you can get real Trump? That's kind of why they kind of like Ron DeSantis, and then he started doing more like Jeb Bush kind of stuff, and they dropped off. A lot of people like DeSantis, but they're still going to go with Trump because he's the main guy. Even if this was a couple months ago and we held the primaries back then where DeSantis was up, he wasn't really going to win a lot of states because a lot of those people who initially supported him, well, they wanted Trump as his first and then DeSantis later. And now DeSantis has gotten rid of all those people, and really, he's gotten rid of any chances of any future run because he was never going to win 2024. 2028, that was a possibility until he threw it all in the gutter. So, moral of the story, Trump is dominating in the polls, and he has a very, very high possibility of becoming our second non consecutive term president, where he is going to get his two terms non consecutively, and he is going to defeat Biden despite Biden already being president and already defeating him. So Trump, he's got a pretty decent shot at winning the presidency and the nomination at this race. It's just a joke. It's just a joke. It's not going to end any other way outside of Trump dying or getting assassinated. So Trump, he's got the nomination, he's got the presidency almost. So he should be focusing on the presidential race and not getting that nomination because he doesn't really need to worry about that. What he does need to worry about is Biden, but not as much as 2020. So, yeah, if you think Biden is going to win, leave it in the comments below. If you think Trump is going to win, leave it in the comments below. Or hell, if you think these other Republicans are going to steal the nomination, leave it in the comments below. And yeah, see you guys next time. Bye.